Welcome to the podcast. It's the best podcast in the world. This is going to end up on the show. I know it, motherfucker.
What's up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to episode 114 of Epitome of Stupidity, your favorite allegedly metal podcast. Music for today's show is a song from the band Human Impact called Hold On off their recently released album Gone Dark. As a longtime and huge Unsane fan, if you think it has a familiar sound to maybe Unsane, you might be onto something. But we'll get into all that in a few. Until then,
Sonic Temple Art and Music Festival, the pinnacle of rock festivals in America, returns in 2025 with Linkin Park, Korn, 2 nights of Metallica, no repeat weekend, plus Bad Omens, Incubus, Alice in Chains, Rob Zombie, 3 Days Grace, Alice Cooper, I Prevail, Jimmy Eat World, Chevelle, Motionless in White, and so many more. May 8th to the 11th at Historic Crew Stadium in Columbus, Ohio. Passes on sale now at sonictemplefestival.com.
that's right, Sonic Temple 2025. So, start saving your money now because let's be honest, festivals are fun and all that, and sometimes they're even worth all the fucking money, and this one sounds like it might hit that damn mark. And with this many fucking awesome fucking bands, it's just so much. But if you're anything like me, 4 days of buying festival festival beers even, you know what, fuck it, I'll buy some festival beards too. Anyways, beards, beers, whatever. 4 days of it, it adds up. Start saving now. If you're new here, I'm Clint. Welcome in. I'll be your host. If you're not new here, I'd like you to know that every time you come back, I try to think of something clever to say about you, yes, you, in this section. What doesn't need any extra thought is drinking meat. And where to get it from. You simply go to brimminghornmeadery.com, pick out some delicious, actually award-winning mead. Use the code EPITOMEAD, that's EPITOMEAD. At checkout, you'll get a 10% discount, and then they'll ship that deliciousness right to your damn door, and you can do the consuming part of the whole mead equation. Delicious. So this is where I tell you what I've been listening to. We're well into October, so no small amount of typo negative has been heard through my speakers, as well as a good Neurosis run. For any clips or videos that may be seen of this, I'm actually wearing a Neurosis shirt because, yeah, sure. This recent run of theirs, it's been focused on some of their more recent albums, which I love the fuck out of, and I don't care what anybody says about them. I'm still enjoying the absolute hell out of that new Adira Horse album. If you haven't heard it, you should for sure fucking fix that, as well as maybe go listen to the last show where we had a lot of fun talking about all things Adira Horse and that album. Mixed in with all that is tons and tons of Human Impact. Both their self-titled album from 2020 and the newest album, Gone Dark. Not a lot of disappointment there. That shit is fucking good. So maybe let's do a little bit more about Human Impact. Yeah, maybe? Sure. That's what it says to do here, so that's what I'm going to do. Some quick info. The band was started by Chris Spencer of Unsane and Cop Shoot Cops Jim Spencer. Their first release, the self-titled album, previously mentioned there, in 2020. And then the second album was released earlier this month, as I'm speaking to you here, as I'm speaking into this microphone anyways. It was released on October 4th, 2024. Easy for me to say. There was an EP in the middle, and while definitely a whole new thing with Chris Spencer's voice being at the forefront, it's easy to kind of compare them to Unsane, but it's probably a little lazy, especially if you just give like half an ear to it. You'll hear the kind of industrial tinge to all of it, and it just scratches me where I itch. They've recently had some lineup changes, but instead of me saying things that I've read about them here, let's maybe talk to one Chris Spencer, of the band about it all. Phone sounds. Beep, beep, beep. Ring. What are you listening to lately?
Oh, I mean, I've been writing a bunch of new stuff. So honestly, I listen to like new shit that I've been working on a lot. Kind of seal myself off and shit like that.
Yeah.
So, and then, well, there's this like a friend of mine's band in Austin, this band called Dim Light. That's kind of good that I've been listening to actually just when I'm driving around. Some Harmonia, which is like this weird German electronic band for the 70s. I don't know. Kind of reminisce on some old birthday party every once in a while, you know.
Nice. It's weird how that question catches people off guard. Like I know, like outside of having these conversations, I've almost always got something playing. But if you ask me what you listen to, I'm going to do the same thing I watch people do. And oh fuck, I don't know, what was I just listening to?
Yeah, you got to kind of think for a minute, you know.
Weird.
Like I said, when we first started this conversation, I turned on the computer and the shit was loud, which was me recording stuff, you know. So
perfect. So if I've got it right, Human Impact has only been around for a handful of years, but you guys haven't wasted much fucking time in getting music out between the 2 full lengths and the EP. Let's do like a quick Cliff Notes version of the band's history.
Oh, okay. I mean, I gotta kind of go back a little bit with Jim Coleman. He was in a band called Cop Shoot Cop. And before I really started Unsane, or before he was in the band Cop Shoot Cop way back in the day, like the late 80s, we were kids in New York, and we were good friends and really had thought about working together throughout forever. So long story short, Cop Shoot Cop broke up in 97. I tried to get Jim into Unsane, but the other guys in my band were not having it. They wanted to remain a 3-piece. And then years later, 2017, Jim came up to me at a show and asked me if I wanted to do some shit. I was like, yes, definitely. And we just started sending shit back and forth via internet. And once we had enough shit, he recruited guys who had recently been kicked out of Swans or fired from Swans, and Phil Paleo and Chris Pravdica, and they were into doing the rhythm section for us. And I mean, me and Jim really established that me and him were going to kind of go forward with this on our own, no matter what. So then we recorded a record. We kind of did the initial ideas, you know, kind of recorded those, a lot at Martin Beachy's place in Brooklyn, and then recorded the full length in Hoboken with those guys. Then the pandemic hit, and we're kind of right before that, and our record came out the night before the entirety of New York closed down. Record release show, we were the only band to play, every other act canceled. And if we none of us got sick, but if we were smart, we probably wouldn't have done it, but we kind of wanted to. But anyway, so then those guys got recalled back to Swans. They got rehired. And we were like, I don't know. I had been playing with Coop and John for a while, doing shit during the pandemic. And we had done some early Unsane stuff I had with them. And then we had a European tour for Human Impact with some kind of big stuff on it, like Hellfest and shit. And so I was like, Coop, John, help me out. Get in the band. Let's do this. They're fucking awesome. So they did that tour with us. And then we took some time, did some touring with Unsane. And then Ipecac had left us with an open sort of deal on a record. So I was like, hey, Jim, let's get back, let's get things going again and record it with Coop and John. So we did, the first record was actually sort of our second recording session. And then the EP was during the pandemic. We were just trying to keep shit coming out. Right. So that was kind of our earliest stuff. So it's kind of like our first record was kind of our second recording session. Second record was with the EP was the earlier shit. And then me, John, Coop, and Jim with this new one really made it the way you would want to make a record. Like we actually really rehearsed heavily just for fun, in a room, just kind of running through shit. You could do vocals live, get everything done live instead of doing shit remotely or in the studio. You know, everything was like really nailed down before we got there. So, and then we went into Canyon Creek, or no, Cedar Creek, excuse me, Cedar Creek in Austin, which was an amazing place. They had all this great old vintage equipment, and got Andrew Schneider to record it, which was really good because I worked with him a bunch. So,
you know what? I'm gonna pick it up from there because one of my questions here is, how was working with Andrew this time around?
It's awesome, always great. He had done a record that I thought sounded particularly good with Unsane, a record called Visqueen.
I love that fucking album.
That I really thought sounded just fucking amazing. So we kind of, when we got together with him, we said, we don't want exactly like that, but we want something similar, you know, and Jim has a lot more sounds coming out, you know, a lot more different weird shit going on. So Andrew kind of took that reference and ran with it, you know, and I think it came out really good. I think he did a really amazing job. So,
outside of you guys there and Andrew's contributions to it, how has reception for Gone Dark been so far?
Been really good. Yeah, really good. We're a couple of guys, Jim and Coop. John and Coop. John's wife had a baby a few months ago, and Coop's girl is about to have a baby. So we didn't want to hit the road right away and make those guys miss their kids' first steps and shit. So we're waiting till spring, and we're touring. We got a Roadburn show at this festival, Roadburn, and we're doing a bunch of touring around that. Reception's been really good. You know, what more can you ask for, really? Things, Ipecack's awesome, and everything's been really good.
Every time I hear Ipecack, A, I want to laugh at just the way that word sounds. B, it's always followed with just something that sounds awesome. Like those dudes, it's never somebody going out of their way to say just how, you know, just being effusive about how great they are. It just seems like it's a known quantity, and that, working with Ipecack is great.
Yeah, it is. It is. I got worked with some really good labels, Amphetamine Reptile. You know, there's some people that you can just sort of give a handshake and everything's going to be cool. You know what I mean? Like, they do a good job. You get paid. They don't try to shaft you. You know what I mean? Everything's kosher, and it works out. And Ipecack is definitely one of those records labels. And they also, now, the way things are now, it used to be, you know, when I was first doing Unsane shit, you really worked on a whole record, and it was kind of like, you know, release this chunk of songs, and that was it, you know. Whereas Ipecack really has kind of, they kind of release singles, you know. You do videos, you do a visualizer for everyone, and Jim's really good at doing that shit. So it's kind of staggered in terms of the release. It's not like one big record all coming out at once. So they stagger a bunch of videos before the entire record comes out, and it's just they're doing a good job.
Yeah, they seem to get the approach too there with the way you're talking through it, where it's just not like it was back when, pick a time frame that makes sense, where you just drop the whole big load of an album. You got to try to get people's attentions, and kind of, somebody on the show recently was talking about how you've almost got to fight for like every 15 seconds of somebody's fucking attention nowadays.
Yeah, everything's so quick. Yeah.
My favorite thing, just as a way to kind of bridge the gap here into this next topic with Human Impact, is the kind of industrial edge that it puts on everything. And it feels like it maybe a little bit less so on Gone Dark. I assume something to do with the lineup changes there may have something to do with that, as opposed to the way it sounds on the self-titled album. But I still want to ask if that's like an intentional change, an intentional sound, or is it just mainly in relation?
Yeah, it is. So as you said that, I was kind of thinking about it. And a lot of shit was done remotely on the first record, and then we all get in the studio for 2 weeks, you know what I mean, and just record. This one, like I said before, was really done with a lot of just fun, practice, you know, just rehearse, work the songs out. It's a way more live record. You know, it was made in a much more live way. So it's gonna have, I mean, just in terms of me, I enjoy using the low dynamic shit, but we were thinking of making a record that's just powerful live, you know, so that when we get out on tour, we can do a shit ton of this stuff and really have it be super strong, and less sort of low dynamic atmospheric shit, you know?
Right. It's I struggled with how to put a coherent question or apparently sentence together around this, but the industrial part of the sound plus the way the album just kind of sounds live seem like ideas that work against each other, but somehow it comes through so fucking well on this album.
Oh, thanks.
It's a thing where you've got the electronic feel, but also clearly this is a fucking band playing their instruments and hopefully very fucking loudly.
Yeah. And me and Jim have gotten more used to working together in terms of both the guitar and the crazy synth shit being kind of up front and trying to, and really complementing each other, you know, in terms of the way they work together. I think earlier on there was kind of this, you know, kind of wrestling match to kind of get which is the hook, you know what I mean? What's the main line in this? And it was cool, and we got it pretty quick. But I think it now it's really solidified where I'll do something, Jim will send me something back, you know, we'll try something live, and it's like, okay, this sounds awesome, you know what I mean? Like it's gotten to a point where we don't have to wrestle with, you know, it's like, oh, maybe don't use the French horn button. You know? What?
That's not a sentence I was expecting to hear today.
I know, nobody, or the banjo, you know, nobody expects that one, you
know. So the self-titled album, like you were talking about, came out right before the first COVID lockdowns, and like just the whole kind of dark atmospheric thing about it feels like it kind of nailed the feel of that time frame. Whereas Gone Dark coming out in 2024, how do you feel it kind of reflects on the way things are now?
Cool. I don't know, man. The world has just kind of gone a little nuts, I feel like, in some ways. It's crazy in America how divided everybody is and how fucking combative some people are, and just everybody's so even more dependent on this computer and their phone, and fucking, you know, all your information is fucking out there everywhere, and, you know, nobody. There's a lot of shit now. It's maybe a slightly different world from what it was before. And it's just things got turned up a notch. You know, I just feel like since then things have, you know, the COVID really just knocked everybody down. And then coming out of that, I feel like some people went a little crazy.
It's like everybody's a fucking wild animal now.
Yeah.
I think it'd be safe to say that you express a lot of frustration, anger, however you want to notate it in your music. Not just over the years, but for certain on this album, it points to. But what I love is that your effort seems to be to express things not through the scope of I, but through a we type of scope. What made you decide to take this kind of approach?
Just to sort of really, I mean, you kind of nailed it, you know, just to not dwell on my stupid little problems or whatever, but to think about our problems and what the fuck we're all being, you know, put through and, you know, programmed to respond to, you know what I mean? Like we're all fed all this fucking information all the time that's really leading us into a certain direction that we may not all be conscious of, you know what I mean? So in that sense, you know, my stupid problems are sort of, you know, menial in comparison, I think, to the sort of bigger issue at hand, you know.
Sure. It's the idea of looking at things from the larger perspective, I feel like is, you know, we talked for a second there about the whole fighting for people's attention 15 seconds at a time.
Yeah.
Because it just seems so singular and personal and selfish. So to think about things and look at things from the larger perspective is, for whatever fucking reason, rare nowadays.
Yeah, a lot of, and then in music, you know, and I'm guilty of the same thing. There has to be a certain amount of sort of, you know, introspection and sort of, you know, personal. Things have to be personal. You can't just be all us, we. But at the same time, you can do that from a perspective that includes us as well. You know, that includes the greater, you know, includes everyone, more so than just yourself. So, I mean, I think that in music forever, people have been writing, my dog died and my trailer blew away and this kind of, and this kind of shit where it's like me, and my horrible life. And this is so horrible, but it's rare that bands or people will actually express something that really affects all of us, So I just kind of went in with that sort of frame of mind,
Yeah, I love that it's not just a bunch of fucking breakup songs, and it's more of a this is actually fucking relatable.
Yeah.
Do you feel like you're uniquely suited to come from this angle, or is it more of a void of anybody else doing it almost?
Oh, I don't know. I just did it because I wanted to. I don't know. I have no idea. I am just sick of singing about me, like what the fuck? There's other shit to sing about, there's other shit that's frustrating. And with Unsane, I realized this a long time ago, like some shit that I see, other people see too. It's not just me seeing this shit, it's not just me recognizing the manipulation or the fucking, use of the media to control people, and just a lot of different aspects to this, or how vulnerable we all are by having all of our information and everything online and all this stuff being, I mean, I've said this in a couple other interviews, but it's really true. I mean, now if you wanted to be a revolutionary, you could get more done as a hacker than you could with a gun,
Yeah.
So
I'm gonna write that fucking down. So to kind of continue the lyrical approach here, I've got a fucking, as I was typing this out, it felt like I was being smart. I'm going to venture to say, which is a stupid thing to say from the guy that hosts podcasts, literally called the epitome of stupidity, but what the fuck ever.
Yeah, I thought it would be easy.
We'll get there, I promise. And now, as I'm standing here with you, I'm looking at this big ass block of text that is, I hope, has a question in it somewhere. So here we go. In the media release, and while looking into things on my end, I see it noted that songs like Destroy to Rebuild is about cleaning the slate and starting new. Hold On, which again is the intro-outro song, being an expression of resistance in the face of a system that uses convenience, as you were just talking about, as a form of control. Not to keep hammering this lyrical theme or any of these themes, but as we said just a second ago, I love that these aren't just relationship songs, but almost a way of putting conversations that we're all having with our friends when we get frustrated and maybe have a couple beers in us. I love that it puts them out there in, it puts those conversations to fucking songs. Are there other topics on there do you know other things that I'm pissed off about that you've made into a song that I haven't figured out yet?
I mean, I don't know. That's hard to say. I mean, I just kind of wrote songs about shit that I see around me or us that are, kind of fucked up. So again, like I strangely enough, people relate to it. You know what I mean? I think some people can see it. So, who knows if I'm hitting a nerve with you personally, but because I'm just kind of writing shit that I see about shit that I see. So I don't know if there's something that I wrote about that you have a grievance about.
What are some other themes on the album? What are some other themes?
I mean, it's like corrupted, like if you look at the lyrical content of the record, it's all on the actual vinyl. There's, it's about like, just don't give up in the face of this fucking giant monster that's kind of holding all of us down a little bit. There's a lot to just living in the US right now and Europe, anywhere really, with all the computer and all the computers and all the control and all the everything is now remotely done, and it just we're all just kind of being manipulated, I feel like, and I think everybody's kind of really starting to feel that more and more as time goes on. I don't think it was as obvious early on, but now as technology kicks in and AI is coming up, and hardcore, and shit's not going to be nothing's going to be as secure as they tell you. You know what I mean? Like all this stuff. Oh, totally secure connection and blah, blah, blah. No way. Fuck that. AI is going to be able to figure out everybody's passwords whenever it wants. You know what I mean? There's going to be shit. You know, it's not as safe as they make it sound, you know?
It's not.
I mean, I would say just really to everyone, you know, to anybody, just be fucking careful. Do what you can to kind of make sure that you're not going to get fucked if this whole thing collapses. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It is scary sometimes. It's not scary sometimes. It's scary all the fucking times. It's just the times that my brain starts to slide into thinking about that from these perspectives and wondering what the fuck can you do?
This shit. We're all forced to use it. You know, it's
Sure.
not like you can get around it at this point, you know, and it's been slow and convenience driven, you know.
Yep.
So here we go. You know, I just, you know, things are gonna, who knows where it's gonna go, but it just seems really fragile to me.
Yeah. I mean, as two dudes on a Google Meet call right now, I'm going to go ahead and say, yeah, no.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you know it. You know,
I love this kind of random sidebar here. I like asking every now and then, what are your thoughts on the whole AI thing from an AI art perspective, or figuring out, you know, screen prompts and all this shit? Where do you fall with all this?
I mean, I don't see that I have a choice to accept it and what's coming up. We'll see. I mean, it's going to change a lot of stuff, you know. I mean, musically, it kind of sucks.
That's double confirmed.
A big part of music is humanity, you know, and the real, like for example, and I'm sure AI can do this, but Andrew Schneider would, you know, I would like do a take or sing a part, and Andrew would be like, I'd be like, how was that? And he's like, oh, it's perfect. Do it again, you know. And he would get a bunch of different takes, and on some, my voice might crack slightly, or there might be one sort of weird inflection of a note on guitar or something that is sort of what we refer to as a happy accident, you know what I mean? And it adds like that real flaw of humanity, you know, that AI is going to be programmed to do. So who knows, you know, what's going on with that. But it's just like, in the arts, it's just a weird fucking thing, because, you know, now this shit can be just kind of created by AI, and you don't even need Pablo Picasso anymore. You know what I mean?
There's another fucking sentence I didn't expect to hear today. Yeah, the other, I don't know, a week or two ago, it made its rounds on social media too. Spotify, I woke up on Friday morning and Spotify sends me a message saying that there's a new Kaya song. No, there's fucking not. Yeah. And I got push and play on this fucking shit. Get out of here. That's fucking, like, there are times where I've certainly clicked on and let parts of what if this song was done by this band type thing, just to, you know, curiosity killed the cat and all that fun stuff. But more often than not, that stuff leaves me feeling fucking dirty when I hear it. And
yeah, and I mean, politically and media wise, there's going to be all kinds of fake shit coming out where you're not going to be able to tell what's real and what's not, you know?
Yeah, no. And we didn't have a fucking great track record of figuring out what was real and what wasn't to start with.
That is correct. It's already a loose subject here.
Yeah. To pull back from all that, you mentioned something about your voice there. I've got a note in here. For a dude that's been yelling, screaming, singing for as long as you have, are there still moments where you get into the studio and you're doing something and you try to push your voice to something where, okay, maybe we don't do that, or maybe you hit something that you realize you can do that you've never done before?
Yeah, I mean, my voice is in pretty good shape still at this point. Really good shape.
Great today.
I mean, Lost All Trust was a real screamer. The last track on the record.
Yeah.
And I was, you know, that worked out pretty well. It was not hard to do. It just a lot of fucking blood flow, you know. and a lot of blood flow. So, you know, it was very exertive, but my voice did fine in the whole thing. It's all, you know, it's got like an edge to it, but it should. It's not the easiest thing to sing. So,
and I guess to whatever degree it shouldn't be. Earlier on, you mentioned something about I think you mentioned that Jim does a lot of the visualizers and things like that. Through all the Unsane stuff and the human impact stuff, you're no stranger to striking imagery things. With the videos, is that a collaboration? How do these things come about? Is what
it's really me and Jim. A lot of time, me and Jim are really good friends, obviously. So we'll kind of discuss stuff, and he will start with like some idea, like he does a lot of like urban settings, you know, of like almost like drone footage through overpopulation, you know, as a background. And then we'll discuss like the lyrics, you know, to the song and what point I'm trying to make. And so we'll take stuff like that and then like his initial thing and then add like drug commercials, you know, anti-drug commercials from the 80s, or, you know, shit blowing up nonstop, you know, or I'll say to him like, okay, let's use a human eye really close up and then just blast color at people really hardcore. So we have like you know, we work together on it, but he is definitely the you know, the basic structural genius behind those things. Jim is really fun to work with. He never runs out of ideas.
It fucking sounds like it. Speaking of imagery, all the releases so far, I don't know if there actually is or if it's just the way that it catches my eye. All of the art for the releases seem to not necessarily have a theme, but it's like they're all family. You can tell they're all of the same, but they're definitely fucking different. Is that another thing that's planned? How do you guys decide on that stuff? Who does those?
Oh, that's just the shit we like. You know what I mean? That's just and feel goes with the music. You know, like to have sprawl in the background with a bunch of riot cops. You know, that was kind of like me and Jim discussed that, and he took this like background of Hong Kong, these buildings in Hong Kong that are just like thousands of units, and then you know, and then I was like, oh hey, what if we put riot cops in front of it? You know what I mean? And Jim was like, oh, that's a good idea. And then he fucking grabs some shit, outlines it, you know, and yeah, we just bounce shit off each other all the time. So there's not, you know, like the EP has The Fly, which was Jim's. I think that's really cool. Like we kind of wanted to do something really almost restrained, you know, really pull back, have this extreme close up of like the fly, you know? So there, and Jim, you know, a lot of it's Jim, and then I'll bounce my ideas off his, and we just go from there. And it's very organic. It's not like we're, you know, like contriving some sort of image for anything. We're just kind of going with what we want to do.
Okay. With every new album that comes out each week, it gets harder and more complicated to classify or fit things into a genre nicely. And you guys seem to be pretty consistently related to noise rock. And again, I hear like the dirt and grit of an industrial tinge. But coming from the horse's mouth, how would you describe it?
Oh, I don't know, man. I don't know. I wouldn't, Unsane too. I never knew what to say to that. You know, it's like, I mean, noise rock seems a little like there's a lot of shit out there now people call noise rock that I would not even think would fall into that genre. You know, I think it's just sort of people putting names on shit. I don't know. I couldn't tell you, honestly. I don't know. Just very aggressive rock.
Right off the rip, I like that better than noise rock. And I feel like you say that a lot of things get lumped into the noise rock thing and they don't really fit. It's almost like people just don't know how to classify. So we'll just go with this. I feel like the same thing kind of happens
early on. It was fairly definable. You know what I mean? There was like Unsane or Hammerhead or Cows or Jesus Lizard. There was kind of Jesus Lizard, maybe less so actually, but there was kind of this sort of it's almost like a Midwestern kind of sound, like the M-Rep kind of sound. That to me really, I mean, there were bands like from LA, Slug came out, really noisy, just using feedback and just stuff that's really abrasive that most people would not embrace in their music. You know what I mean? And using it to kind of make a point. So, I think earlier on it was you were a little more able to really say like, okay, this is what that is. You know what I mean? But again, now, yeah, there's all kinds of shit that's called noise rock when it's just like loud rock,
Yeah. Have you heard any newer bands, which is a subjective term there, but have you heard any newer bands that you think would kind of signify that noise rock thing?
Oh,
more than just trying to.
No, no, not newer. You know what I mean? Because it's been a long time now. It's like 3 decades of noise rock. So, newer in the past year or two, I can't really say I have heard anything that's really like, no.
Where'd the name Human Impact come from?
Oh, I thought of it, but it was really, we just ran through a shit ton of names, and we wanted a name that sort of would apply, not literally to the human impact on the planet or anything like, ecological, or what I mean? Nothing like environmentally, impactful, you know what I mean? Nothing
Sure.
like that, but just something that was sort of like what you were referencing before, less about me, more about us, and human impact. I always thought of it like a guy's body falling out of a building and hitting the sidewalk. So yeah, that's just me. This is my way I think. So when I thought of it that way, and then Jim and the guys were like, "Oh yeah, human impact, okay, that could work," So.
So you're thinking about it very fucking literally. This is the impact of this human on the ground.
Yeah. Falling from 50 stories or something,
This is another one of those things that I should not be laughing this fucking hard about, but damn it, that caught me off guard, and that's funny. With all of the different projects that are somewhat or directly related to human impact, are there ever times where you guys are putting something together and it's a little too close to the bone, something has to be changed?
No, hadn't happened yet. I don't think so. I mean, some people have said that Gone Dark sounds a little like I wrote an Unsane record and now these guys do it, which was not the case. We wrote a bunch of riffs, me and John Coop. I was writing shit forever. Jim kicked in some, you know what I mean? No. And I mean, I don't even know in this situation if that's really possible. You know what I mean? Because we're not Cop Shoot Cop. We're not Unsane. We're not,
Sure.
It's a totally different band. So no, and that has not been an issue, honestly. I mean, like I play guitar a certain way, I sing a certain way. I like the way I like what I'm doing. I'm pretty happy with, how I'm doing on it. And Jim is doing totally different shit. Jim has had like a long history of now like a ton of ambient different shit and film soundtracks. What is that show? Do you know the show, the last 48 or something, or I don't know. It's like a true crime show. He did like sound and music for that. And all
No, you got me there.
He's got all kinds of like cinematic stuff and crazy crap. And I did a French horror movie. So there's been a lot of development from what our previous bands were doing.
Wait, you can't throw out I did a French horror movie and not tell me what the fucking name of it is.
Oh, it's called The Pack.
Just like it sounds, Pack, P-A-C-K?
Yeah, but that's the English title. It's La Mute, I think, in French.
Spell that for me.
M-U-E-T-E, I believe. Or M-E-U-T-E, maybe? M-U, I don't know.
I was hearing that wrong, and having you spell mute to me that's my day's not getting any better than that. That's the highlight of my day right there.
Well, M-E-U-T-E, I believe it is. I think
we'll go with that.
Yeah, either way.
We'll sort it out.
French.
Fucking French people. As a matter of fact, I think if everything goes right, the next band on the show should be The next band should be a French band. Anyway,
That's good. That's a good thing.
weird compliment. So you mentioned Roadburn. Are there any other larger touring plans?
That we're doing like 3 weeks around that, and then after that, we're hoping to do some state stuff and do like Northeast, Midwest, and Texas, and then West Coast. So we may break it up into smaller bits because the guys have kids now.
Sure.
Everybody's got babies.
So that's it. Roadburn's April of next year. So we're looking spring, summer type things.
Yes,
exactly. For a dude that's been in the music scene for as long as you have, for better or worse, with your time involved in it, how has it changed?
Oh, Jesus. I mean, obviously the internet has had a massive impact on everything. Everything. I mean, I'm like a dinosaur. Like when I first started, I was using a fucking Tascam 4-track cassette recorder. So things have radically changed. And now I think with streaming and shit, one major thing is that I don't particularly think people make that much more money now off like Spotify. You don't make shit. A lot of bands make a lot of their money touring at this point, which is kind of refreshing in a kind of weird way. Because it used to be that we didn't make a ton touring, but then you'd actually get some money from the record,
Sure.
So yeah, I mean, it has changed a lot in that you can get exposure easily, but then at the same time, there's just so much shit out there that it can be hard to get your 15 seconds of view time.
Right. Yeah.
So, things have changed radically, I would say, from what it was. But one thing that hasn't changed, which is kind of cool, is that, people still go see live music. That's really the main thing, is that people still go out and see bands in their town and see their local bands and shit. I think that's kind of a cool thing that it's not entirely disappeared,
Yeah. Fuck yeah. I know that, like, this is going to sound some version of shitty, but we're going to hope that the humor comes through. The thing with COVID and lockdown and all that, I don't mind having a reason to stay home. Fuck it. As long as they'll still sell me beer, I'm all right. But the one thing I for sure missed was fucking shows, man. Like just the itch for live music and having it, whether playing it or having it, man, oh man, that fucking sucked.
Yeah. You don't realize what a part of your life that is until it's gone,
Right.
And I mean, like for us, we had multiple tours postponed and then canceled and then blah, 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 a ton of shit. And then we got the go to do like a Midwestern tour. And right when we leave the apartment building to get in the van, it's Omicron broke out.
I was reading about that. Yeah, I saw that.
Oh my God. It was like seriously like a 1-2 punch from virus, like what the fuck?
Can't turn around.
So, and now, I mean, I've had COVID 5 times.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, from touring and shit and just being out, going to shows. But now the last 2 times have been like a fucking allergy. Not even as bad as a cold. Seriously, it just feels like a little head cold allergy.
Yeah.
And it's nothing. So
I see, like the other side of that is in all this time, I've only had to test twice. Never had it.
You never had it.
Nothing.
Yeah, I know. I don't know.
Who fucking knows, man?
Yeah, it just it hits everybody differently,
Right.
Because me, it won't do shit at this point because I have like the immune system of a cockroach. But,
See, all right, I really don't mean to get on this fucking topic or run or anything like that, but yeah, no, my immune system is fucking really weird.
Yeah.
And it's somewhere in thinking about all this, I remember because back when I was a kid, I would get strep throat every fucking winter, like clockwork.
Yeah.
And I remember my doctor telling me that some people can carry it, have it, and not feel anything.
No. Yeah.
Well, meanwhile, I can't fucking swallow it. I feel like a fish out of water.
Yeah.
And I've thought about that with the whole COVID thing. Like, maybe I have had it.
Yeah. I mean, it was crazy because I didn't even think I was sick at all. And then I was rehearsing with Cooper and John, and then they fucking got massively ill. Like, oh my God, everything we had to shut down. No more practice for however long. It was crazy. I mean, I felt really bad because I tested positive, but it was fading. You know what I mean? Like I'd obviously already had it for a week,
Sure. Yeah.
But anyway, enough about that.
Yes, I agree. How did you start playing the guitar? Who were your influences for it?
Oh, well, my mom was in a bluegrass band when I was a kid. So I was introduced to guitar by my older brother and a bunch of weirdo hippie freaks. So I started playing, just kind of doing dumb shit when I was really young, like 7, 8. Just kind of started try and learn a chord, and kind of and then by like 10 or 11, start playing with my friends in the basement all the time. My friends were just kind of stoner kids who stayed underground and played musical instruments all day after school.
I feel like I've seen that episode. I may have lived a couple of them.
Yeah, I'm sure you have. It's not uncommon. Although these days, who knows?
What's some advice that you've received or would give for someone starting out in music?
Oh, don't give up. Keep practicing.
That's a theme for you.
And don't give up. That's really the main thing. A lot of people from when I was a little kid or whatever, you don't have to be in a band. You don't have to be touring all the time. You don't have to be, if you want to, you possibly can. But the main thing is just keep playing, man. Just keep going, because music, like in my case, music really is kind of an outlet from relief from all the fucking bullshit, not all of it. It's not all bullshit, but, but just a relief from shit that I'm not into, so.
I would bet that you and the rest of the guys in the band, based on this conversation and other things I've seen about you and the other guys in the band, probably already have some ideas for whatever's next for Human Impact. What's that going to sound like? Where do you think this band goes?
Oh, well, I've kind of already been writing some stuff, but really just develop where we've gotten to at this point. I really like working with this like aggressive live sound. I think we're going to go more into a live, area. And I'm not ready to pull it back into mellowness.
Not ready to start your acoustic tour?
Yeah, but I guess no. So we'll see what happens, but I've already been recording ideas, and a lot of it's kind of punch in the gut type shit. So
nice.
Yeah.
And you saying all that, and obviously you're key in shooting this down should you want to. I think we categorize Human Impact live industrial.
Oh wow. All right.
That is the sound of somebody saying, sure, man, whatever.
I mean, I'm like, okay. Thing. I mean, I guess Jim really adds. I guess me, Coop, and John as a unit are very aggressive, very noisy, and very, and Jim adds a lot to that. You know what I mean? Which is maybe where more the industrial aspect comes from.
For me, it's always been industrial. For me, relates back to the bass tone in the Ministry song "Filth Pig." Oh. If I can find that tone, my brain's going to try to find a way to say this is industrial.
Oh, okay. Right.
And I can hear a lot of that in the in your guys' bass tone, and plus the actual keyboard element and all that.
Yeah.
Anyways, I'll stop telling you about your music, and we'll start working our way into the way that I end these things. I used to call this the rapid fire question session, but they're not. A lot of them aren't questions you can answer quickly, so I've changed it to stupid fire. And while you've said a lot of smart things leading up to this, I'm going to try to ruin that. Apparently,
all right.
We'll start with something easy here. Coffee or tea?
Coffee.
What's something you could eat for a week straight?
Oh, I don't know. Sandwiches.
Love sandwiches. Beatles or Stones?
Ooh, I got to go with Beatles.
Yeah.
We used to be Stones. Now as I grow older, they just once they started taking acid, they kind of kicked it up a notch. I feel like. The Stones kind of settled into like blues cover band territory, and I feel like the Beatles got I liked it better once they got on hard drugs.
Someday, I'm going to say this, and I'm absolutely never going to do it, but there's what 6, 7 Beatles albums?
Oh yeah,
something like that. Someday I'm going to take the best 7 Stones albums and all the Beatles albums and try to make a more concise argument here.
You see that because I was thinking about that actually earlier today. Strangely enough, I saw a clip of like early Stones and they're doing like some Bo Diddley shit, and shit from the early '60s, But then I think about during the highly overdone cocaine overdose type period of their career, they did some cool ass shit. Exile on Street or whatever, and the Mick Taylor years, were really good. I feel like that was a real high point for the band. Sort of like the Beatles all on acid was a high point. So
cocaine for one, acid for the other.
Yeah.
It all evens out.
Years were probably the best ones for me.
If you had to compare human impact to an animal, what would the animal be?
Oh my God. I don't know. Human impact. I mean, I would have to be a human.
I guess that makes a certain amount of fucking sense, huh?
No, doesn't it? Yeah, fucking stupid human.
Hang on, let me write down stupid human. I like the qualifier there. Stupid human. Beer or liquor?
Beer, I guess.
Me too.
Yeah.
Scale of 1 to 10. How good are you at keeping secrets?
Dude, I don't know. 7.
7?
Depends on the secret.
Oh, that's a good fucking point. Nobody's ever said it that way.
Yeah. If the secret is somehow fucking somebody up, a friend of mine or something, it's going to keep that secret.
Yeah. What's your favorite cleaned up swear word or phrase? The example here is mine is shut the front door.
Oh. I never even do that shit. Sorry. Fuck off.
N-A. Got it.
Okay, there you go. That's maybe I can maybe do, whatever.
Go-to karaoke song.
Oh, House of the Rising Sun.
No shit.
Yeah. Afraid so. I'm afraid so.
Sausage links or patties?
Oh, patties.
Me too, man. I mean, like I try. I'm going to sound like a fucking even more like an idiot here, but real talk. Like I try to be agreeable with a lot of these things, but when people say links over patties, it fucking weirds me out.
That's a little weird.
It fucking weirds me out, man. You, Chris Spencer of Human Impact, Unsane, other fucking bands, get sent to an island for the rest of your life. You get to take one album with you. What's the album?
Eno and Harmonia. I think it's called Tracks and Traces 76. I've thought about that one. Very mellow. It's very like relaxing and low stress.
I love that you had that all but loaded up. At this point, I'd like to say thanks to Chris for talking with me today. Links for Human Impact will be in the show description, wherever it is you're listening to this from. Use them and listen to Gone Dark as soon as possible. Speaking of wherever you're listening to this from, do me a favor and click the subscribe button. And if the option is there, please give the show a review or a star rating or whatever the fuck is there. Thanks as always to the Brimming Horn dudes for partnering with the show. And I'm all excited for the big ass Sonic Temple Fest here in Columbus to be back on board with the show as well. Thanks to them. You'll find links for all that stuff in the description as well. Like, follow everybody on the socials, all the fun stuff. At this point, I'm going to kick it back over to Chris to introduce Hold On for us, and then we'll get to the good stuff.
Okay. There's a track called Hold On. Took fucking years to get there. I had multiple different versions, but this one is the best.